What up, high and wide fam? It's Delco Dave. I'm here with hockey family royalty tonight. Kinderchuk, his father, Mr. Kinderchuk, and the director, player personnel savant, Bob Strumm, Strummer himself. Guys, how's it going tonight?
Good.
Real well.
Yeah, it's fun.
Great.
It's fun to have the three of us here together,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
God.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hosting a family reunion here.
You are a little bit. You are a little bit, for sure. And we're all here to commiserate over how lousy the team that brought us all together is currently. That's unfortunately what's bringing us together at this point. We'd all be loving to celebrate a victory, but once again, the Flyers didn't deliver, despite the fact that I think they had 50 shots tonight. So they had an
49.
offensive outpouring, but it just didn't work. They couldn't get enough pucks past the Columbus netminder, whose name I don't even know, because why would you ever learn that? But obviously, Strummer, you know his name. What is his name?
Elvis. Elvis is in the building tonight.
Yeah.
And his last name is Merzlikins. He's a Latvian kid who played in the Swiss League for 2 or 3 years and then came over and signed with Columbus. He's an acrobat. He's a good goaltender. He's played well for Columbus for sure.
Clearly.
He's got 22 wins, 18 losses. He's been their starter all year. Started 46 games. I mean, his goals against average is 3.4. So you'd like to see us get, over 2 goals with 50 shots. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. At this point, you really just evaluate who you brought up. Yandel got reinserted into the lineup, but Noah Cates had a very sweet goal tonight. And that's exciting. Our 2017 draft pick that we're excited about, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who to get excited about anymore. I haven't been excited about anybody except for my dad or his Kinderchuk.
Yeah, I'm being out here in the West Coast and I watch as much as I can. And I'm going to be point blank. The Flyers have lost the culture in that locker room. The culture is gone. There's no grit, no hard work, no to do whatever it takes to win a game. And I just think they've lost it in the last few years. And it used to be when you put that sweater on, you automatically got 10% better and you didn't want to let down your teammates. And those are kind of things like you see in Pittsburgh. You got players coming up in Pittsburgh. When Sidney Crosby's there, Jesus, all of a sudden you got these players that are scoring these goals and that, and you never heard of them. But it's because the culture is really strong there. And the one team I feel has never, ever lost their culture, and I'm including the original 6 teams, is Boston. Boston still plays with the same culture. Montreal lost it. Toronto lost it. Detroit lost it, Chicago lost it, but Boston has always maintained that hard work, gritty effort culture. And if you don't have that, you're not going far.
And that was actually something that Strummer and I were talking about earlier. And it's embodied to me this year by the relationship between the 2 goalies, Swayman and Olnak. Olnak, right? Am I saying it right? I'm asking you, Dave. What's that? Yeah. Where before every game they do this thing when they hug each other, and it's clear that no matter who's starting that night, they're going to be playing for one another, even if one's on the bench and one is on the ice. And yeah, I just can't imagine Jones and Hart doing that as much as I'm a Hart fan or any player doing that on the Flyers. And I've really analyzed, Dad, what you've been saying about that with the Bruins culture. And if you look back at their past history, they've never been out of it. They've never had this lapse that every other original 6 or expansion team has had. And some of it is expected. Obviously, if you come into the league, you're going to stink for a while. But the Bruins, for the past 60 years, have always been in the thick of things. And, man, I don't know if you attribute that to Harry Sinden. Strummer, you and I were talking earlier today. You attribute it to Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. But that's a team that doesn't regret ever bringing back alumni to run the front office, because they always do a good job to maintain what I think is becoming an overused word, but doesn't mean that it's meaningless is culture.
They play hard. They play hard, and like I said earlier, you got Cam Neely as the president and Don Sweeney as the GM. If you don't play hard, you don't play. So you put that. You're right, Ole. You put that sweater on, and something happens to those guys, and they're a handful to play against, and that keeps them in the mix every year.
You know, they're not real deep, but man, those guys, you probably can't, you know, name the 4 or 5 players there that obviously are probably Hall of Famers, but there's other players come up big, you know, and I don't get it. You know, Pittsburgh has been strong for a long, long time, and it's leadership, it's culture, you got to have that leadership, and if you don't have that leadership from the top, you're just not going to get results. And everybody is just and with the Flyers, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. I don't know what's going on there, you know, but they're soft. Bottom line, they're soft, and I don't care who hears this. They play soft. Are they willing to stick their head in front of a puck, or are they willing to do this? Or no, you do it. You got to love the game, number one, and I'm not sure they love the game as much as they should. Too many players today worry about their briefcase first and the game second. And I've always said, son, if you put the game first, the briefcase is going to come. And you know, unfortunately, when they get the briefcase early, they sink.
And I think that's a perfect description of Ivan Provorov. Yeah, he's someone who I feel like is just overvaluing cash instead of ever embracing the logo that's on his chest.
I think, unfortunately for Provorov, he's come into the Flyers at a time where this organization just doesn't have that win right now mentality. Over the last 6-7 years, they've always been 2 to 3 years away. Like, oh, we're building for next season. We're building for next season. That's been
so was Brind'Amour. Brind'Amour was on that team at the same sort of time, and no one would ever question Brind'Amour's contribution to this team or his dedication to this team.
You're not wrong there, but I just think this has probably been one of the darkest periods of Flyers history.
The darkest,
and it's because I feel like it's because this kind of mindset set in that we're just always building for the future. Oh, we're always 2-3 years away. Oh, we're always for next season or the following season. We need to acquire more assets, more capital. As much shit as Paul Holmgren got, the guy always played to win, which is what I loved when he was the GM. Like, every single season, he wanted to win the Stanley Cup that year. He made the moves that he thought helped the team win that particular season. He wanted to win a cup that year. I feel like these last 6, 7, 8 years, it's always been like, oh, you know, we're just waiting for like 2-3 years down the road. I don't know. I feel like once you get that kind of attitude and you start being like, oh, well, you know, this season doesn't matter, that seeps into the walls. It seeps into the building. It seeps into the jerseys. It gets into everybody's head. I mean, that's how I see it.
Two things about that.
This is the first time that they're going to miss the playoffs back to back in quite a long time. They've been in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. You know, I checked it today, and this is the first time in quite some time that they've missed the playoffs back to back. You can miss once for certain circumstances and find a rebound. The more you miss, the more you miss.
How many playoff series have they won in the last 10 years?
2.
Yeah.
Maybe 1?
1, 2.
One or 2. Yeah,
either answer is not acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, you know, that comes to leadership. Leadership.
Yeah. No question.
How the hell can you only win 1 playoff series maybe in the last 10 years? It baffles me. And that's when you make the
leadership, or you're talking on ice leadership?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
On ice leadership or
on ice? I think it starts. You know, I when Mr. Snyder passed, I think it was going a little downhill before that because he was ill. But I just think the leadership, obviously, a lot of it starts from the top. But you got to be tough on the players. If you're worried about a player's ego, you shouldn't be in that position to make decisions about hockey players. If you're worried about what they're going to think or you're going to embarrass them, well, maybe they need to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know, I look back last year. Now, I don't know how truthful this stat is, but their power play was the same unit all the time. Now, I was told this. I didn't calculate it, but you got Giroux and Voracek on the power play. You know how many power play goals they scored the previous year combined? 1. Check it.
Well, they're last in the NHL this year in power play. Oh, they're dead last this year.
So why would you stay with the same crew game in and game out? Are they afraid of them? What are they? Come on. You know what? If I was coach there or GM there, I'm going to do it my way because I know I'm going to get fired anyways. So why wouldn't you? I would bench. I would make healthy scratches like you couldn't believe. And let the young players play, because you look at other teams that are going to be really good because they're letting their young players play. You know, I really believe that the Devils down the road. I think Arizona's going to be decent down the road. You let these young players play. I can't even name 2 players on the Minnesota team. Look how hard they play.
Well, they get, you know what, it's interesting you'd say that, because Zach and I were talking earlier today, and Billy Guerin, who played on championship teams, went into Mini as the GM and bought out Suter and Parise. The culture was not good, and I know that. I know a couple of young players that played there. They're not there anymore. But they said that Suter and Parise treated the young guys like shit. And so he went in there and he redid that team, and look where they are now. They're hard to play against. I mean, I think out west they're probably one of 4 or 5 teams that have a chance to win the conference and get to the Stanley Cup final.
I know one thing, I wouldn't want to play against them.
Yeah, they play hard, and they got some skill. They've done a good job there, really good job. Ottawa's a team that's hard to play against, and you're right, they're playing their kids. I mean, my favorite saying when I was in Columbus way back was play the kids. We had a lot of guys that we picked up and this and that, veteran guys, and we had some good ones, but play the kids. They're your future for sure.
Yeah, and we're finally getting to that point of the Flyers season. And Dave, I know you and I are both on Twitter. The whole Keith Yandel thing, which was this was the point where I was like, I've never been annoyed with Flyers fan more. And Strummer, you and I talked about this earlier. All for the previous 74 games, people were talking about how lousy Keith Yandel is. And then they decide to scratch him for one particular game. And the same people who are talking about how lousy he is all of a sudden are upset that they're cutting his record short of 1,000 games. The most meaningless goddamn record in all of sports, the Ironman record, where he didn't hit a nice round number of 1,000 games. Dave, like, I don't even know what side you came down on it, but it's like, why would any Flyers fan care about whether or not Keith Yandel is on the roster or on the starting lineup?
And the guy is minus 41, Zach. He is minus.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's a terrible player. He's a nice man.
Get to the record. He's lucky.
Hey, what else have they had to cheer for?
Yeah, I guess.
Would you cheer for that? That's the thing.
No, but the Flyers organization, what else have they got to promote right now?
I love it, to be honest with you. I actually, as far as Twitter goes, I was retweeting former players that came down on both sides of the argument. Roenick was pissed off about us. I retweeted his stuff. Then Mike Rupp came out and said, "Oh no, he should have been benched earlier anyway." I retweeted that. I loved it. I love absolute chaos. I was just retweeting both sides of the argument. And I was hoping people were getting wound up about it.
It was such a ridiculous thing. Yeah, I saw what you were doing, Dave.
Yeah,
Roenick called it a cowardly moment for the Flyers, and then Mike Rupp, I think, had the best point about it, where he said it was just this manufactured record anyway, because Phil Kessel's clearly going to beat him because the Arizona Coyotes needs something to draw a 5,000 people.
That's what your dad just said, though. What else are you going to cheer for? Your dad just said, what else are they going to cheer for?
But are you going to cheer? Are you going to cheer
and the
for
Coyotes?
Keith Yandle?
You're saying the Coyotes are going to do exactly what the Flyers should have been doing.
But no, are you really going to be at Keith Yandle's 1,000th game and feel any sort of emotion?
Oh, I couldn't care less.
I couldn't care less either. Honestly, offer a beer special that night. You're going to get more people than Keith Yandle's stupid 1,000th game.
Well, here's the thing. If Yandle had been like if he had been here for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, it would have been a bigger deal. Like if he had played
Drew's 1,000th was a big deal.
Exactly. So if he had been here for half of that record or something like that, it would have been a bigger deal. But honestly, he probably should have been scratched when he was back in Arizona anyway. And then Florida wanted to scratch him, and there was a mutiny. The all 11,000 fans they had a mutiny and threw a fit about it. So like, all right, we'll put him in the damn game then.
Well, the thing is, in Philadelphia, this isn't Phoenix. It's not Florida. In Philadelphia, no, they don't accept losses. And I'm sure the attendance has been way down. In Philadelphia, you play hard and be nice to everybody and just play your ass off. They're going to like you. But the core of Philadelphia fans in the Delaware Valley, and I've lived there 48 years, the bulk of them, we don't care about that streak.
No. We
want wins. And whatever it takes to win, that's what you got to do. And that's what the management has to start looking at. And everybody says, well, they got great prospects. Well, who does evaluation on that? Is that the league or is it the Flyers themselves? Name me their big prospects.
No, I don't know.
Strummer, you're involved in that. Name me
We've
their
had
prospects.
Great prospects for 15 years now. I just never seen any results.
Yeah, no.
I mean, their best prospect is in goal, and they can't win with him. And he's not a prospect anymore. He's the starting goalie. But certainly they're well down the list in terms of prospect pool. And Morgan Frost has been a real disappointment. First round pick, doesn't play inside the dots much like used to. If you don't play inside the dots, you don't get to the paint. It's hard to score in the National Hockey League. So. I mean, he's a talented kid, but he hasn't figured it out yet. And, the Cates kid scored tonight. Good for him. The one defenseman I like, but he's had a back issue off and on, is Zamula, the big Russian kid in Lehigh Valley. But their prospect pool is slim. You can jump in with both feet, even if you can't swim, and you're not going to drown in their prospect pool.
No, I agree. But Strummer, you and I were talking about earlier, you feel like that there's enough that they could add a player or two and be competitive again.
You have to start somewhere. So as Orr said a few seconds ago, play the kids. I think they've got a core there. I think with the right leadership, the right direction, I think they have a core of 9, 10, 11, maybe 12 players that you can move forward with. You don't win with mercenaries. You don't win with a lot of free agents. You win with the draft. I think I said a couple shows ago that the last 20 Stanley Cup winners have had at least 10 of their own draft picks on the roster. Now that's a pretty fair sample size. And, so at some point in time, you have to draft well and you have to play your kids and surround them with a solid culture, which they have to rediscover there because they don't have it. Now their leader's gone. Maybe that was an issue. Maybe the C was an issue. So he's out of there. And it's up to the players that remain to reboot the culture and move forward. Personally, with the right direction and I don't want to say any management or coaching, but I don't think they're
Go ahead.
I don't think they're as far away as people think they are. I really don't. You can reboot a team. I've done, last to first, man. We took over the Regina Pats. They finished last. We won the championship the next year. Now that's junior hockey. I get it. But all we did there was reboot the culture, the Pats history, the greatness of the franchise. And I think Philly's on that ledge. And I know this is the National Hockey League, don't get me wrong. But I just think there's ways and means. I mean, Tom Brady took over a franchise with the worst record in professional sports, not just football, and won the Super Bowl the next year by changing the culture. Period. End of story. I know they had talent, but those guys needed direction. They needed a winning culture. They got it and went and won the Super Bowl. So it can be done, but it has to be done right.
Well, it's crazy to think that we're going to win the Stanley Cup next year, but it would be nice to get into the second round of the playoffs.
No, I'm not
It'd be
saying
nice to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, we get in the playoffs.
Yes.
If you get in the dance, you can take home the homecoming queen, guys. If you're not in the dance, you have no chance.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I just like that you gave us another buzzword, another buzzword. We had, rebuild gets thrown around a lot, retool gets thrown around, reload. Now we got reboot. That's another one. I'm gonna start throwing that out there. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna just get rid of the other ones. I want to reboot this team. That's what I want to do. I want to reboot the team.
They've been rebooting for 5. They've been rebooting for 5 years.
If you use rebuild, this is my feeling. If you use the word rebuild, you give the fans a chance to stay home, and you give the players an excuse to lose.
And that's what we've been doing. Well, like what Mr. Kindertruck just said, we've been rebuilding for 5 years. Is what we've been doing. Going nowhere.
They don't know what they're doing. I'm cheating here a little bit. Hockey News just put out the Future Watch. And Philadelphia has the 27th out of 32 best player pool in the league. 27th.
That's disappointing.
Future's looking bright.
Huh?
Well,
I just feel, I wear a Flyer shirt occasionally, but I wear mostly Flyer alumni. Sorry.
Understandable.
Being honest, they say, "Well, what's the matter with your team?" I said, "Whoa, that's not my team." The play, no grit would not have been accepted in our day. You would have been gone.
Yeah.
And if you didn't play the way everybody else was playing, or one leader or whatever, you weren't going to be. You were benched. I don't see that here. There's guys on this team here that I wouldn't play the rest of the year. Sit down and explain to them why they're sitting down. Maybe they don't know. The older players there, come on. You got guys 6'3", 6'4", and they play like pansies.
Do you have specific examples?
Pardon me?
You have specific examples?
You want me to name a name?
Oh, name the names, please.
James Van Riemsdyk.
Oh, for sure. Oh.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
He's brutal.
Now, if he hears any of this and I said that, well, maybe he needs a kick in the ass. You're 6'4". Just because you stand in front of the net, and now you can hardly be touched in front of the net. Come in my day when you were in front of the net. That's a whole different animal.
Well, I've been trashing Claude Giroux for like the most of the podcasts that I've been on. It would be nice if you could just back me up on that shit, because I don't have nearly the credibility.
If you want my opinion on Claude Giroux, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Listen, he's a good player.
Great player.
He's not your leader, and hasn't been for years and years. Yeah. I believe that between him and Voracek and all them, they created a swamp there. That the younger players or whatever just kind of followed their lead. And, the interviews after, we played hard. We had some bad breaks. Come on. You're talking to the people in Philadelphia. They know, the deep down hockey fans in Philly or Delaware Valley know hard play, hard working play. Points don't mean anything. I look at a guy that I played against, Marcel Dion. How many goals did he score? How many points did he get? But what did he really accomplish? As a player, gritty, tough. No. obviously playing with Clarkey, and I think we were all similar style players that I want to see the player. If I'm looking at a player in juniors or college, I want to see a player that if you're winning 6-0 or losing 6-0, I want to see how that kid plays continuously. Is he taking a night off? Is he going to keep playing? And I don't know if management looks at that enough or not. Strummer, you're more involved. I haven't been involved in that, but if you're not looking at the background of these kids right now, I'd rather have a kid that's going to be a Ross Lonsberry type player than a kid that's going to score me 60 goals and not show up in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you and I talk the same language. We're from the same era, but talent sets the floor, Horst. Character sets the ceiling. And the two things. I mean, skating is crucial nowadays. I mean, if you can't skate, it's hard to play in the league. The other asset is compete. How hard does a kid compete? In what situations does he compete? It's you know what, the men stay and the boys go home. I mean, this Anaheim thing with Jay Beagle, who's not a tough guy in the least, and Troy Terry, like, you know what? You're playing in the NHL. You're not playing for the U.S. development team. You're not in kindergarten. You got in a scrum. You got hooked up with the wrong guy, and you got your eye messed up. You're in the NHL. And then Trevor Zegras, there's not enough mustard in the world to cover this guy. He's whining about it afterwards. And Dominic Roussel, did you see his comments today? He said, hey, look, he's got 17 goals in the NHL. There's 150 guys in the league right now that have 17 goals. Like, you're in the NHL, kid. Accept it, play like it, and shut up.
The player that I always really, really liked, and it's been Current, and they didn't like him here for whatever reason initially. And this kid, he hung on to the puck. He would take a hit, make a play. He's won the Conn Smythe. He's won quite a few Stanley Cups. Justin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
I knew that.
There is the kind of player you want for the playoffs.
Mr. Game 7, baby.
That's the guy you want. He hung on to the puck. And, there was a guy in Philly, and then he got traded to Boston. Oh, man. And he wasn't a big guy, but he was known to hit everybody. God, his name just slipped me just recently. And I said, you know what? It's so easy to hit people. Are you willing to take a hit to make a play?
Right.
That's what's winning you games. Hitting people's easy.
Well, the irony of it all is that Philly had Rod Brind'Amour. They traded him to Carolina to get his Stanley Cup.
My dad was always willing to take a hit, which is why he can't remember when my birthday is.
Happy birthday. It must be today.
But
is it your birthday, Zach?
Listen, I'm being out here, and I'm out in California, a lot of Canadians here, and they keep asking me, what's going on there? What's going on? And I just said they've lost their culture, their hard work ethic to win at all costs for the last 6-7 years. And there's no more excuses. And I really, for the rest of the year, I would just bench players.
Yeah.
Healthy scratch. And if they're embarrassed by it, well, too bad. You earned it.
I don't even think that's even controversial here anymore, Dad. Like, JVR is just wildly unpopular here, especially if he was making $800,000 a year or like a Yandel type contract. You would suffer through his poor performance, but the fact that he's getting $7 million a year, I don't think anybody would even care. And I don't even know who said
worse. That makes it worse because we did suffer through a Yandel contract and everybody jumped all over Yandel. The fact that JVR is making $7 million, it's just twisting the knife. Like, it's even like, it's so bad.
So bad.
And
you know what? I'm not there in the winter and whatever, but that much. But I do listen and follow. Do you think these players in Philadelphia are embarrassed?
I think that there are some that are. I think Cam Atkinson is embarrassed. I think Carter Hart is beyond embarrassed. I think he's incredibly frustrated.
Nope.
Beyond that, Joel, you have young guys like Joel Farabee who really have not processed what it's like to be a full-time NHL player yet. You have other guys like you know, obviously the prized possession that we got out in this offseason was Ryan Ellis, and he never really got to experience what it was to be a Flyer. Kevin Hayes, I feel like, has some pride. I don't think he's worth what we're paying him. But I would agree. Ivan Provorov's not embarrassed.
No.
I don't think
if you're not embarrassed, bench him.
Well, Ristolainen's not embarrassed because he came from Buffalo. So it's like he's just used to this shit.
Hey, don't talk bad about the future captain of the Flyers.
You know what? The captain should have been changed 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years, minimum 5 years ago.
I don't think that's controversial at all, actually. I think since Drew left, I think more people have come around to that. No, I think if you went back 2 weeks ago, it would have been controversial. I think now people are like, oh, you know what? We probably should have done this sooner.
Mm. But there's a lot of guys that we're going to come back. Couturier, who knows what happens when he comes back. But he was not playing well this year. And when you use the word embarrassed, I don't think that he felt embarrassed about his performance this year. But who knows what sort of lingering injury he had.
Yeah.
I don't know because the NHL is so vague about injury reports. I don't know what he was really dealing with. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's having back surgery. I guess he was kind of hurt.
The NHL is a joke when it comes to their injury reports.
It's such a joke. Hopefully he comes back and it's just the natural leader of this team.
Let me ask Gorst a question here because we were discussing this the other day. And the guy that came from the Tortorella regime this year into Philadelphia, Cam Atkinson, has been their best player, quality guy, character guy. How hard is it? You did it. How hard is it to go from one organization to another and be the captain? You went from Philly to Pittsburgh. They named you captain. What were the difficulties of a new guy, supposedly new guy, taking on that role?
Well, the biggest thing, I remember arriving in Pittsburgh and management told me the players elected me as captain, which I thought was a real honor. I don't know if that's factual or not, but the biggest thing in Pittsburgh was there was a bit of fear in there when they played. The players didn't have a lot of grit. And I think I was a little bit luckier when I was named captain there because who came with me was a Ross Lonsberry, a Tommy Bladen. Also from Boston was Greg Shepard. And then coming from, Toronto, there was a George Ferguson and Rick Kehoe was there and Ron Stackhouse was there. So there was a semblance of older players there, but they didn't know how to win. They did not have any idea how to win, what it took to win, not only at home, but on the road, everywhere. And I don't know. I mean, I have a story about Pete Mahovlich. He was there. We were playing against St. Louis, and we were ahead like 4-2 with about 5 minutes to go, and ended up losing 5-4. And true story, I was the last guy in the locker room, and I could hear Pete say, "Hey guys, don't worry about it. There's 900 million Chinese that don't care." Right? I heard that. I turned him around, and he's 6'5".
Yeah,
we're both on skates. I punched him in the chest as hard as I could, and he went down on the ground, and all these young guys are sitting around. I said, "Pete, I ever hear that come out of your mouth again, the next one's in your teeth." And Pete and I became really good friends. From that point on, he said, "I should know better. I came from Montreal. I should know better." And boy, we turned it around right then and there.
That's a great story, man. And you know what?
It's actually the same thing that happened too when I first came home with a C- on a report.
Yeah.
Well,
but honest to God,
and we became great friends. Yes.
You went to C+ the next report card,
right? Yeah, that is actually surprising to hear from Mahovlich, who came from such a winning culture.
Yeah. But that's what Ryan O'Reilly did in St. Louis, boys. That's what Ryan O'Reilly did, just what O did in Pittsburgh. That's what he did in St. Louis. And boom, Stanley Cup champions, Conn Smythe Trophy winner. Boom, first Stanley Cup for St. Louis. Those guys like Oris Kinnerchuk and Ryan O'Reilly, and those people are so hard to find. And unless you draft them, they're so hard to get.
Well, the Flyers have done it before in the past. When they brought in Chris Pronger and then Jaromir Jagr, those were two of their best seasons when they brought in veteran guys who have been there, done that, and have won before in this league at different locations. So there's nothing wrong with them doing it again.
Those are special guys, though, right? How often can you find them?
But they had the guy. They had Rod Brind'Amour, the ultimate warrior. They had him. They traded him. Thank you very much. I got my Stanley Cup. You don't.
Yeah. And he's inevitably going to get one in several as a coach.
Yeah, they got a chance. Yep.
He's just got a winning attitude. It might not be this season, but can you imagine Rod Brind'Amour leaving the Carolina Hurricanes at any point, at any year?
No,
they're not going to fire him. He's the Popovich of the Senate of the NHL. Like
100%.
Popovich is there as the Spurs coach for as long as he wants to be.
100%.
And Brind'Amour, I think, is going to be the Carolina head coach as long as he
you know the kind of guy Brind'Amour is. He wouldn't re-sign as coach until he signed his entire staff. Assistant coaches, trainers, equipment guys. He would not re-sign with them until they signed everybody else. That's quite a story.
Yeah, for sure. Oh.
Yeah. Now that does not surprise me.
Sorry, somewhere went wrong here.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, I was worried for you. I actually texted Zach. I'm like, "Oh, is your dad okay?"
Yeah, no.
I texted him back. Yeah, so he has nightly strokes. So
Zach, I want to tell you.
Actually, I had to go. I'll be honest with you. I had to go fill up my glass of wine.
I love it.
Hey, Zach, Worst had a couple of C minuses.
Yeah, I know he did.
No, I didn't.
Nah.
No, Fred wouldn't allow it. Fred wouldn't allow it.
No kidding. Fred wouldn't allow it. But
Fred's my grandpa, Dave. Just so you don't know it.
I was putting that together.
Getting very inside.
No, I was putting that together. Context clues.
Yeah.
But sorry to give you that story and that.
No.
In Pittsburgh, Mr. DeBartolo was our owner, and we started 0-5, and he came in, little guy, he had the black trench coat, the fedora hat, and it was, and he spoke very quietly. He says, "Guys, I see the effort." And then he had his son run around, about 12 or 13 years old, who was the one that eventually ran the San Francisco 49ers. And he yelled at his son, "Sit your ass down and shut up." And geez, we all thought he was talking to us. But we turned it around and ended up beating Buffalo, the French Connection, in the playoffs, and lost to Boston in max games. And so it all comes down to teaching how to win.
Yep.
What it takes to win.
Yep.
Your talent isn't going to be enough.
So do you think Ryan Ellis coming back healthy would be enough for this team to basically teach them how to win? Is that the kind of, would he be considered an acquisition enough that would, elevate this team just via attitude and his presence?
Well, he's a top 4 defenseman. He was a winner at Windsor and Junior. They won a couple Memorial Cups back to back, which is very difficult to do. The fact that he hasn't been around, certainly part of the leadership group, but the more I think about it, and this was Zach's idea at first, was Cam Atkinson. He's got John Tortorella in him through and through, and he's a good player. He's a fiery little guy, and they have to find the right person to lead that troop out of the wilderness. And who that is, I don't know. I don't think there's anybody that they've drafted that's been part of the process that can do it. Sanheim's a good young player, but I don't think he's that kind of person. No,
I don't think he's a leader.
From what I understand, I know people that know him, had him in junior. So
what about Cam?
Well, that's what we're saying. Cam Atkinson is probably
leading
the charge here. I would say
if you can put up with Tortorella's shit, you can put up with anything. And and Tortorella does. I know John, and he doesn't win any popularity contests, but he doesn't accept losing.
No, he doesn't, except when he does.
Who's going to be the coach?
Eventually, he loses.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of suggestions that Talk would be a guy to come back in there. I don't know. Tortorella's out there. Travis Green's a real good young coach who had a bad experience out in Vancouver. Their next coach, that's a huge decision for them.
If it's Tortorella, that's going to drive me nuts.
I would love Tortorella. I'm the exact opposite. I would absolutely love Tortorella to come in.
Why? I mean, that's like a summer loving Grease like romance. Like it's not going to last. Tortorella blows himself up at some point.
Wait,
like,
but here's the thing.
We've had Tortorella before. We've had Ken Hitchcock. They're the same person.
But here's the thing. There are people there are coaches that are builders and there are coaches that are maintainers. I think Tortorella is a builder. I think Tortorella is still a coach.
Let me interrupt.
Yeah, well, look how good Columbus is doing.
I know Hitchcock and I know Tortorella, and Hitch can't tie Tortorella's skates. I'll leave it at that.
Ooh.
Well, only because of his weight problem.
No. I know. I refuse to say here what it is, but the two people are so different that.
But they're both short-term things. Like Tortorella is.
How did he do in Columbus for 4 years? They never made
enough. I mean, not really anything particularly.
They knocked off Tampa. I mean,
So
at some point in time, it comes to the level of talent that you have. But this guy can, the juice is worth the squeeze, and he gets all the juice he can.
I'm with Strumm, man. I'm
someone who's going to be here for 6-7 years, and then Tortorella's not that person. And I don't even know if he has. Once you go into the analyst booth, and this is going to be hypocritical because Tocchet is there, but only in like a minimal space. Once you go in the analyst booth and come back, I don't know what you bring back to the game. I don't think Tortorella is going to come back with the same sort of verve that he had before. And I'm just not interested in him. I find him just really annoying.
Zach,
wait, you got to go.
He would be loved in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah.
He would be loved compared to Mike Yeo. But I don't think that he would be loved in the long term because
long term it doesn't matter. Nobody's a long term coach anymore, anyways.
But when I say long term, I mean give me 4 years. And Tortorella, I don't know what he brings to this team. I say this because I'm 100% team Tocchet. I want Tocchet bad.
Why do you want Tocchet so bad?
If we can't, like, I would love to just throw a bag over Brendan Moore's head, and then he wakes up and he's in Philly and he's the coach. But we can't do that.
Well,
so
what has Tocchet done that you want Tocchet so bad? All the success he had in Arizona?
Let's look at his success record in Arizona compared to what they're doing now, and then let's compare Tocchet's career to Brendan Moore's. They're very, very, as someone Bob Strumm brought up as a very successful GM, Bill Guerin's. I lump them all in the same sort of player. Hard-nosed, not superstars. I think superstars have trouble managing teams. Tocchet would understand the frustrations of both a Zach McEwen and the top-line center, whoever it is next year. He gets both. He's been both types of players.
Here's a guy. I was back in Philly in November for a big Flyers alumni reunion, and I spent 3 nights, late nights with this guy, and that was Mike Keenan.
Well, that would be crazy, Dad. Come on.
Now, you want to talk about a guy that could get under your skin.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Iron Mike, baby.
We can't bring back Mike Keenan.
Why not? But why not bring back Iron Mike?
It'd be like reelecting Reagan. Like, we just can't do that.
But
I'd love it. I mean, it'd be great to see that.
It was awesome because he didn't let me go to bed before 1:30.
I know. He's a party animal.
So he still has plenty of energy. All right. So let's just bring him back.
No,
is 1:30 late for you? 1:30 is late.
Yeah.
I'm just starting to work at 1:30 for Craig.
Yeah, no, that's late.
Yeah. I mean,
except when you're with all the guys from there was every generation there, and that just doesn't happen too often in many franchises. Every generation was there, and having beers and having this, and And unfortunately, I wish the current players could have been there to see what that generation and what it took to build that culture. That would have been the best thing for those players to see.
But you really think they would have absorbed it? That's
It
the
would have been
unfortunate
awesome.
thing.
And they
I
needed to see that.
I was lucky one time when I was here in Vegas running the team. I spoke at a dinner with Al Davis, believe it or not, and I spent some time. I mean, you want a character, and he said to me, he said, "You don't win and then become a close team. You become a close team, and then you win." And he said the Raiders had more players at functions in the National Football League at that time than any team in the league. And some of the stuff, I mean, what an honor. I had my mouth open for about 10 minutes talking to him. Well, I couldn't believe he gave me 10 minutes. I was a nobody. But he's exactly right. Like this word we beat.
And again, Strumm, not to interrupt you, but this is why you bring back Talk It. Talk It can bring back. Talk It is different than I understand that we're as Flyers fans hesitant when we're talking about bringing back. Hextall was a goddamn disaster, and I'm hounding that dude to come on my other show. My dad used to play hockey, based on you, Dad, and it didn't work out. Holmgren's been hit and miss. Clarkey was hit and miss. Berube was a hit, but Hextall ruined that.
I don't think Holmgren was a miss.
Holmgren's been, he oversaw a difficult era of the Flyers. He is deservedly as much of a front office Flyers Hall of Famer as more than he is a player, to be honest. But Talk It, Dad, and hopefully you agree with this. Talk It could have played it on the Bullies.
Pardon me?
Talk It could have played on the Bullies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't said that to many players. I was with Talk It in November. We had a beer or two together and we chatted. Just him and I, actually. It was great. And I've only given that compliment to him and one other player that I felt could have played on our team with that kind of desire, and that was Ian LaPerriere.
Yeah, Lappy. Yeah.
Dave Poulin.
Other than that, I can't think of anybody else that would have wanted to do whatever it took to win.
Yeah.
And I'm including the Lindros era, the LeClaire era. I'm including all of that era. There are very few people.
And I think I don't know how much of an ego, because for me, Rick Tocchet, being that they got so close, they could have been like the Broad Street Bullies have been looking to be replaced by another era of the Flyers for a long time. Like, Dad, you've expressed this to me several times. You're tired of being the ones that everyone's focused on. God, we need another franchise or another championship team with this franchise. Tocchet wanted to be a member of that franchise, so I feel like he's unfinished business here, which is only going to bring him more drive. And I think that the Flyers players would have immediate respect for him because of his accomplishments on the ice. And again, being that he was a star, not superstar, he understands the concerns of all the players around him.
I'm not saying Tortorella should be the guy. I just brought his name up because he coached Cam Atkinson. I have no problems with Talk. I've spent time with him through a million people that I know and he's around, and Talk's a straight up guy. They, more than anything, I think what O's saying, you're saying, Zach, everybody's saying is they need a straight up guy. They need
just a retread.
No BS, straight up. This is the way it is. My way or the highway guy.
But Strummer, you just said mercenaries don't work. Tortorella's just the straight up mercenary.
But that's fine.
He goes where the paycheck is.
I was talking about players. All coaches go where the pay. How many coaches?
Yeah, but Taco would go where the paycheck is and also have this emotional connection to the team.
Fine. I'm okay with talking. I just, like I said, I brought up Tortorella because Cam Atkinson had played for him. He'd played in a no BS system for 4 years. And if you don't play to win and you don't do it his way, you're on the highway. So there's other guys like that. I mean, O and I come from an era where that's the way it was. I mean, see you later. You know
You know who's going to be good in 2-3 years? Maybe less than that. Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Because of Steve Yzerman.
Oh yeah. 100%. Well,
Who do you think built? Who built Tampa?
Yzerman, obviously, yeah.
He built the culture there.
Yeah,
I had a scout tell me the other day that they talk about Anaheim, LA, Ottawa, the Rangers, the best talent pool in the NHL. This guy said the best talent pool in the NHL is Detroit. Well said. Oh,
they're going to be contenders only because of Steve Yzerman. You got to torture him to get him to smile.
Yeah, he's always angry, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, no, he's intense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those kind of synonyms.
He built. Sorry to take up time, but guys, I'm going to head out.
All right, Dad.
It was a blast. Strummer, great to see you.
Great to see you, bud.
And hopefully we'll see you soon. Zach, I know I'll be talking to you. How do I leave? Other than just getting up and leaving.
Well, just awkwardly amble away.
Well, Mr. Kinderchuk, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
You're welcome. And you don't need to call me Mr. Kinderchuk. That was my father, so you can just call me O.
All right. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Okay. And you guys hang on. I know there's 3 dots here. Do I hit that and it takes me out?
Just pick up your tablet and throw it in the hallway, and then you'll be signed off.
Listen, I can take you all.
There we go. I figured it out.
That's
Harris Kinderchuk.
That was a blast. Oh, and I go back like, oh my God.
Yeah, you knew him before he knew my mom.
Yeah. Him and I go back 50, 55. We're Saskatoon boys. Saskatoon boys stick together come hell or high water. Yeah.
Strummer, this is how it went down today between me and Zach when we were texting. I texted you to confirm that you were good to go.
Yeah.
And then Zach texts me, goes, "Hey man, do you mind if I jump on the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, man. You're always welcome anytime." And then like we're talking in the group chat on Twitter, and then he texts me, goes, "Hey, my dad's gonna come on the show too." I'm like, "Cool, sounds good, man."
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it was great.
Because Strummer, when's the last time you talked to my dad? It's been a while, right? Oh, look at this! Look at the Canadian mug I'm drinking sleepy time tea out of too. Oh yeah,
hey.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all connected. I got a Phillies t-shirt. Strummer's got a Phillies hat. Canadian t-shirt for Strummer. Canadian mug for you.
Bryce Harper. Hey guys, minor baseball in Vegas.
I mean, my dad hasn't shut off his camera yet. I'm just gonna
Babe Ruth baseball in Bryce Harper.
Yeah, Bryce. This is a Phillies podcast, but
I mean,
it's going to be a great year for the Phillies.
Same team. Those guys. Can you imagine Bryant and Harper being on the same Babe Ruth team? Did they ever get those guys out?
Well, yeah, that is pretty remarkable.
And then you throw in is it Gregorello? Was that the guy that ended up in with the Yankees on first base at the end of the year from Texas?
And then, I don't know his name.
Yeah.
But there was a third major leaguer on that team.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, so I gotta bear in there with Harps. I'm a Blue Jay guy through and through, but I didn't think my Blue Jay hat would fit here today, so I got the Phillies.
It's honestly, it's time to get rid of the Blue Jays and fucking send them to America. It's just stupid to have this one goddamn Canadian team. Enough.
That really hurts, Zach. That really hurts.
Well, it's just dumb. I mean, because they win. They broke my heart. Joe Carter hit the home run off Mitch Williams, and just like, why just have that one stupid franchise now? Like if you had 3 or 4, because I honestly, Strummer, I don't know how much the Canada deserves NHL franchises anymore. I really don't. It's like
they're all better than the Flyers. I know that.
They're better, but like, what do they bring?
29 franchises are better than the Flyers. It's not hard to find a team better than the Flyers.
I'm not saying in terms of performance, but for the good of the league, I'd rather have a team in Mexico City than I would Winnipeg.
Now you're being silly.
I'm not being silly. I'm just in terms of, like, imagine, like, we talked about this earlier. I predicted Calgary and Florida are going to be the Stanley Cup Finals. How are you going to broaden the game when you have a fan base that won't show up until the Stanley Cup Finals, and then you even another fan base that will show up in Calgary. They've been showing up all year and showing up for the entirety of that franchise, but nobody knows where that franchise is. Like, I feel like it I know it's a North American game, but if we truly want to cash in, it's just be an American game.
You know what? You're lucky we let the American franchises into the league.
Yeah, well, you're lucky that you're lucky that we subsidize the Canadian ones.
Well, the dollar. You know what?
You mean the loonie?
Those American dollars are worth about 30% more in Canada. I like that.
That's going down every day.
Yeah, of course.
It'll go. What goes down must come up. What goes up must come down. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, guys, we passed the 55-minute mark, so we'll go around the horn here real quick. Strummer, the floor is yours. Anything you want to talk about, promote, hype up, any story, personal anecdote? We've had people recommend TV shows they streamed, but the floor is yours for the next few minutes, man. Go ahead.
Best comedy I've ever seen, Wedding Crashers.
I did not expect that.
I could watch Wedding Crashers. I've seen it 20 times. I will see it another 20 times. So,
honestly,
other than that, it's not something that I've done in my lifetime, Wedding Crashers, but no, I thoroughly enjoy this experience with you guys. I thank you so much for getting me involved in these things. There's things I want to say that I don't say, but hopefully I get to that point where I do say them. So thanks a lot. Another great show, another great night.
Hey, Strummer, you're welcome on my show anytime, man. We'll set it up. I'll have you on whenever you want to come on, dude. I always appreciate having cool guests, and you're a great guy to hang out with.
Super.
Yeah. All right, Zach, you're up, man. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Whatever you want to hype up, talk about, promote.
I don't know. Like, after just pushing the Wedding Crashers, that was the most unexpected thing I ever heard. That was amazing. I did not expect that.
You can't touch that. You can't touch that.
It's a good comedy, but man, I don't even think it's Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson's best work together. That's hysterical. I don't know. The new episode, long awaited. Long awaited. Mike Knuble is out. I'm a big fan of Mike Knuble because I love later in life successes like Tina Fey, Grandma Moses, Ernest Hemingway. Mike Knuble had 221 goals after the age of 30, and that's great. And he was fantastic to talk to. So my other podcast, My Dad Used to Play Hockey. Season 2, episode 2 is out, and I'd also so Russ Farwell is underperforming compared to other shows that I put out, and I get that because his name isn't that recognizable, but the story is arguably like the 5th most famous Flyers story behind the 2 cup wins, and I'm just going to slide in 3 and 4. I don't know where they are, but the Lindros trade was that's one of the biggest Flyer stories of all time. And Russ Farwell orchestrated that and had to deal with that with the handshake deal, and then having to deal with the Rangers coming in on that day, the very same day. And Russ Farwell's story, even though he oversaw a very, very dark period of the Flyers, he was it was his only GM job in the NHL. And
so
it was
Colorado won 2 Stanley Cups with that trade. And Philly is still
we all know that. Even Russ Farwell knows that. But on that day, Strummer, you would have made that deal. And you're lying if you say you wouldn't. Eric Lindros.
Russ Farwell, and they wouldn't be waiting for another Stanley Cup. That's all I
but Eric Lindros was the get of the century. He was before Lemieux, before Gretzky. There was Gretzky, Lemieux, Lindros. You would have given the planet for him. And we didn't know what Forrest was going to be. We traded a lot of, not has-beens, but people who were on. Chris Simon ended up being the difficult part.
Would you have traded Eric Lindros for Peter Forsberg? Even up?
Yeah, well, now we know that. I wouldn't have done that. But 100%. Lindros seemed like such a surefire thing. I would have given anything. I would have given the spectrum for him at that time.
A little overrated.
Well, now we say that, but coming in, his first rookie card, before he was in a Flyers jersey or an NHL jersey, it said future superstar. Like this guy was gonna transform the league, and when he was healthy for the first 5 years of the Flyers, he lived up to it. He just couldn't stay healthy, and his parents were lunatics.
Yeah.
Bonnie
You
and
know, the one
Carl
thing
were.
I can say about Lindros is this. I was in Columbus, and they were playing the Flyers, and he got on the same elevator as me. And I always wondered about Lindros, to be honest with you. I looked at his face. It was like a railroad changing station. This guy had more scars than I could ever have imagined. I got off the elevator. I said to myself, that son of a bitch does pay the ultimate price.
Yeah, that's
And I never viewed him like that, Zach. I never really big guy. Yeah. I could not believe the scars this guy had on his face. Wow. That's playing in the NHL, man.
Well, and that's just when we are the target of everybody's, the biggest hit. You want to have that hit against Lindros.
Yeah.
And Scott Stevens obviously transformed his career.
Yeah.
So but before that, Lindros was spectacular. And Eric Lindros is a former guest of My Dad Used to Play Hockey, if you'd like to hear his version of the story. So
I try to catch up on all the High and Wide podcasts, but doing my own stuff and then writing and everything like that, I'm always like behind. People are dropping episodes and I'm listening to them like 2 weeks later. But usually when I get like a Sunday off, I sit outside, I play the podcast on a loop. I was listening to yours just last week, I think.
Yeah, only listen to mine. I mean, why are you going to listen to Jim's show? He's just this bald-headed man in front of an American flag espousing libertarian shit.
Yeah, he looks like he's ready to run for office. He really does.
Yeah, he's just some weird third-party candidate.
But anyway, for HW at Night, the last episode we had Paul Dvorsky on, Devo. We talked about his nicknames, NHL officiating. Pretty cool dude. He did it while he was driving back from the game. So I really appreciate the fact that he took the time to do like a 40-minute show with me while he's driving home. So really good dude, Paul Dvorsky. But High and Wide fam, thanks for hanging out with us. For Zach Kinderchuk, for Bob Strumm, I'm Real Delco Dave. Everybody have a good night.